Now, the U.S. Senate has approved Donald Trump's mammoth domestic policy bill by the narrowest margins.
And this happened after a 24-hour-long marathon voting session. Vice President J.D. Vance was the one to break the tie after a 50-50 vote, with 3 Republicans joining Democrats in voting against the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Thank you. You know, I'm waiting, listening to these wonderful words, and they are music to my ears, but I was also wondering how we're doing, because I know this is prime time. It shows that I care about you, because I'm here and I probably should be there, but we do care. Thank you very much.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
The vote came after a prolonged vote-a-rama during which senators offered and debated numerous amendments. The nearly 1,000-page legislation. Republican senators Rand Paul, Susan Collins and Tom Tillis voted no with Democrats on the legislation.
Now, the bill aims to extend President Trump's first-term tax cuts at a cost of $4.5 trillion, increase military spending and fund mass deportations and border security. As per the reports, the legislation is expected to add over $3.3 trillion to the national debt over the next decade.
The amended text now heads to the House of Representatives, where it faces unified Democratic opposition and multiple Republicans balking at the budget-busting cause, as well as slashed health care and food aid programs for poor Americans.
We knew the Senate would amend the House product. I encouraged them to amend it as lightly as possible. They went a little further than many of us would have preferred. But we have the product now. As the President said, it's his bill. It's not a House bill, it's not a Senate bill, it's the American people's bill. And my objective and my responsibility is to get that bill over the line. So we will do everything possible to do that, and we'll work with all of our colleagues.
The Speaker has just days to pass the bill before Republicans' self-imposed July 4th deadline. But several Republican lawmakers are already sounding rebellious notes.
One of them is Republican Representative Andy Ogles, who in a post on social media said that he will introduce an amendment to the Senate bill that would delete all its text and replace it with the version passed by the House in May.
An Axios report citing a Republican lawmaker said that there are well over 20 GOP lawmakers threatening to vote against the bill. But President Trump is confident, telling reporters that the bill is going to go easier in the House.
It's a great bill. There is something for everyone, and I think it's going to go very nicely in the House. Actually, I think it will be easier in the House than it was in the Senate.
Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer blasted the Republican voters for voting to pass Trump's sweeping bill.
In one fell swoop, Republicans passed the biggest tax break for billionaires ever seen, paid for by ripping away health care for millions of people and taking food out of the mouths of hungry kids. This is not a big, beautiful bill at all. That's why I moved on the floor to strike the title. It is now called The Act. That's all it's called. But it is really the big, ugly betrayal, and the American people know it. This vote will haunt our Republican colleagues for years to come.
For more on this story, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listen to this.
Congress is debating a huge budget bill that critics say will blow up the deficit by $3.3 trillion over 10 years. But that scary number is based on an unrealistic assumption, according to experts, that Congress would have let the 2017 tax cuts fully expire this year and trigger a massive $4.5 trillion tax hike, something almost no one in either party wants. Those experts say if the bill is measured against current tax policy, it actually saves about $500 billion over a decade. This comes straight from the CBO estimates using a current policy baseline. Now, the bill also cuts subsidies for renewable energy and raises deduction cap on state and local taxes. In short, while there are flaws like new tax breaks for tips and car loans, this is the first serious attempt to reform entitlement programs in 20 years. Next, the House will take it up and expect fierce fighting over these spending cuts and tax tweaks to continue there as well. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
For more on this, we're now being joined live from Washington, D.C. by John Rossimondo, President of Viking Research Associates, geostrategist and expert on national security. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. Let me get right to it. I want to first begin by asking you what your assessment of Trump's big, beautiful bill is, which is passed by a razor-thin majority in the Senate. And what do you think are the main bone of contention here?
Well, I think that a lot of the bone of contention is cuts to social programs like Medicaid that millions of Americans depend on for their health insurance because they don't, they're either unemployed or don't qualify for regular health insurance. The other bone of contention is that people like Elon Musk say it'll blow up the U.S. national debt, which is already a record $36 trillion. So I think that you're going to have a lot of deficit hawks that are going to be latching on to this. Plus also it makes Trump's tax cuts from his first term permanent and offers things like, write-offs for car loans and things of that sort that people who support tax cuts believe will stimulate purchasing of new vehicles and stimulate the economy.
John, seeing what happened in the Senate, it took 24 hours. There was a voting marathon, and finally the one to break that tie was the U.S. Vice President himself. What kind of hurdles do you foresee for this bill going forward? We're just days away from 4th of July.
Well, I foresee that the Republicans will get it over the finish line. I think that Speaker Johnson will ultimately prevail with getting the votes that he needs. And just like we've had a lot of in the past few years, you'll probably have Vice President J.D. Vance once again breaking the tie to pass President Trump's landmark legislation.
Right, absolutely. Now, when we speak about the tax breaks and the spending cuts, you mentioned the entitlement in the social programs as well. What sort of practical implications do you see this having in the days to come?
Well, I think that it'll have an impact on certain individuals who are on these programs, and at the same time, we're facing record national debt. I mean, the United States is the biggest debtor nation in the world, and we can't spend forever. Eventually, it will catch up to us in terms of our economic vitality.
All right, John, thanks so much for joining us here on World DNA. There's going to be, a lot of commotion in the next few days to come as we see this bill head to the House now. That was John Rossimondo joining us from Washington, D.C.
Thank you.